Hello, and welcome to English Speak Pulse. My name is Danielle, and I'm really happy you're here with us today.
And I'm Sarah. Thank you for joining another episode where we help you speak clear, simple, and natural English, one topic at a time.
Today's topic is something you talk about every single day, with friends, family, co-workers, and even strangers.
That's right. Today we're talking about weather. Weather is one of the easiest and most common topics in real-life English conversations.
In this episode, you will learn useful words, natural expressions, and a short conversation, all in slow and easy English.
So relax, take a deep breath, and listen carefully. We'll help you speak confidently, step by step.
Are you ready to learn English with us?
Welcome to the deep dive. You know, if you've ever found yourself just searching for a simple way to break the ice, maybe make a bit of small talk at work, or even just with a stranger, the answer is always the weather.
It really is.
So today, we're diving into that, not just the words, but really the whole social side of talking about the weather in English.
And that's really the mission for you, the listener. We want to get you beyond just, the dictionary definitions.
Right.
The goal here is to give you the vocabulary, but more importantly, the expressions that people actually use without even thinking. We're going to build a framework for you, starting simple and getting more complex as we go.
Okay, let's unpack this essential toolkit then. Our research showed that, honestly, most daily weather chat is covered by just 6 foundational terms.
Just 6.
And these are the absolute entry point for small talk. So first up, we have sunny. It's bright, it's warm, it's filled with sunlight. I think we can all agree it's probably the most cheerful word you can use in a morning greeting.
And then, the opposite of that is cloudy, just, lots of clouds in the sky. But the interesting thing about cloudy is how people use it. It's often this kind of mild, acceptable complaint.
A complaint? How so?
Well, people will often say something like, oh, it's just a bit cloudy today, almost like they're apologizing for the sun not being out.
Huh. I can see that. Okay, so moving from light to, water. We have to talk about precipitation. Let's start with rainy.
A crucial one.
Yeah, and it covers everything, right? From a huge downpour to just a light drizzle. And it's so important because rain forces you to do something. You need to grab gear, maybe change your plans.
Then you have movement in the air, windy, a noticeable or strong wind. And the key insight here is that wind is deceptive. It can make the air feel way colder than it actually is.
That's the wind chill effect.
Exactly. Being able to say it's not that cold, but wow, it's windy makes you sound much more, natural.
And to round out our 6, we have the more specific conditions: snowy falling snow or snow on the ground. And finally, foggy, which makes it hard to see.
And there they are. Sunny, cloudy, rainy, windy, snowy, and foggy. That's the backbone.
But it's not just about knowing the words.
No, not at all. The real value is connecting them to consequences. I mean, think about the danger that comes with snow or fog.
That's a great point. It's not just it's snowy. It's more like I need to drive carefully.
Precisely. The sources were very clear that driving in snowy or foggy weather requires extreme care. Visibility just drops. So if you're talking to someone who's traveling, you need that vocabulary to ask if the roads are okay.
And wind isn't just about feeling cold, is it?
Not at all. A really strong wind can make just being outside, even walking, genuinely uncomfortable. It can change your whole plan for the day.
Which brings us perfectly to how we use these words for actual planning and conversation. The classic question is always, how's the weather today?
But it's what comes after that question that's important. It's the action plan. We saw these great if-then scenarios. If it's sunny, then you think about going for a walk.
Right. And if it's cloudy?
Then you think, maybe I should take a light jacket. If it's rainy, you grab the umbrella. It's automatic.
I love the conversational example we looked at. So imagine you checked the forecast last night and it said sunny and warm.
Right. A perfect day ahead.
But then you wake up and it's actually cloudy and, a bit chilly. What's the natural thing to say?
Well, you'd point out the change and then you adjust. And that's where you get that classic supernatural line. Better take an umbrella just in case.
It's just in case.
Yeah. It shows you're thinking ahead, preparing for the unexpected. It's a sign of real conversational fluency.
Okay, that covers the essentials. But to sound truly fluent, we need to go a bit deeper, right? Beyond just cloudy or windy.
Absolutely. We need to add some detail, some nuance. This is the language native speakers use to describe the sky and the air.
So instead of just cloudy, what's a better word?
You might say the sky is overcast. It sounds more sophisticated and implies the clouds are like a thick, solid layer.
And the opposite would be just clear, I suppose.
Clear, or even cloudless. And for wind, we can describe its intensity. Is it a gentle, light breeze or a really disruptive, strong wind?
What about the feel of the air itself?
That's a huge one. We have to talk about humidity. We say the air feels humid when it's damp and heavy. It makes hot days feel so much worse.
And the opposite of that is when the air feels dry.
Exactly. So now you can have a much richer conversation. Instead of just, it's cloudy and warm, you can say.
The sky is completely overcast, and honestly, it feels incredibly humid today.
Yes. See how much more descriptive that is? And it has real practical value. We talked about fog earlier.
Right, the visibility issue.
Now we can name it. We can say there's low visibility. That term immediately translates the weather condition into a specific safety concern, especially for driving.
That makes so much sense. Okay, now for the part I find most fascinating. Weather isn't just technical. It completely changes our mood, the whole atmosphere of the day.
Oh, the psychological connection is massive. Sunny weather is almost universally described as cheerful. It makes people feel optimistic.
And rainy weather, interestingly, was often linked to feeling calm or peaceful, but only if you're watching it from inside.
Right. There's something soothing about it. Then you have foggy mornings, which were consistently called mysterious. It changes how you see a familiar place.
And a thunderstorm.
Undeniably dramatic. People find it thrilling to watch. The lightning, the thunder. Those things are safe indoors, of course.
The one that really surprised me in the research was that windy days were linked to feeling irritated.
It's true. It's not just that it's cold. It's that constant noise and pressure. It can genuinely get on your nerves.
So there's a direct line from weather to emotion.
A very direct line. Sunny makes us feel energetic. Cloudy or rainy can make us feel a bit sleepy or relaxed. Hot and humid weather, that's linked to feeling sweaty and tired.
And extreme cold makes you feel, well, lazy. You just want to bundle up and not move.
The main insight here is that weather sets the mood for the day before you even do anything. So when you talk about the weather, you're actually sharing a little bit about your state of mind.
Ah, so it's a safe way to share an emotion.
It's the perfect social lubricant. You're testing the waters without having to get too personal right away.
That was a tremendous deep dive. Okay. To help you, the listener, really make all of this stick, we have a few practical questions you can start asking yourself.
Yeah, instead of just checking the temperature, ask, what does the forecast really say about the air quality or visibility? And then think about the action. Do I need a jacket? Should I maybe not go cycling today?
And finally, connect it to your own experience. How does this weather feel to me right now? What kind of mood is it setting? Just remember that final tip. The weather doesn't have to be perfect to enjoy the day.
And for a final thought to take with you, since every type of weather has its own charm, its own personality.
Yes.
Try to think about which emotion or atmosphere you personally connect with each type. Is your foggy day mysterious and cool, or is it just annoying? Understanding your own connection is what will really make this vocabulary stick for you in a real conversation.
A perfect way to make it your own. That's it for this deep dive.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're unlocking what I think is a really powerful linguistic shortcut. We're going to move beyond simple weather reports.
Right, that it is sunny stage.
Exactly. We're taking a deep dive into using weather language as a high-return tool for natural conversation, for complex planning, and even for expressing our feelings.
Precisely. We've pulled our insights from a really detailed language guide, and our mission today is all about precision. We want to distill that advanced vocabulary and, maybe more importantly, the conversational patterns that just immediately elevate your fluency.
And the source material is fantastic because it isn't just meteorological, it's social. It focuses entirely on how weather affects real-life scenarios, how we plan travel, what we decide to wear, and even how a bit of cloud cover can totally change our mood. When you master this, you're not just describing the sky.
No, you're engaging in complex planning and social signaling.
Okay, let's unpack this. If you really want to stop sounding like a beginner, you need to grab these 6 adjectives. These are the words that give you conversational depth, like instantly.
The key here is all about nuance. Let's start with a big one. Stormy.
Okay.
If you just say it's raining hard, you're kind of missing the point. You miss the opportunity to convey potential danger.
Ah, right.
Stormy, according to the source, includes heavy rain for sure, but also thunder, lightning, strong winds. It shifts the whole conversation from a nuisance to a risk assessment.
And that risk assessment is tangible. You immediately signal, I cannot travel safely right now. Or
There might be delays at the airport.
exactly.
It's dramatic language, which is why we love it, but it's also practical. Being outside when it's stormy is genuinely dangerous.
Okay, so let's talk moisture, because this is where I think a lot of people get tripped up. We tend to use damp for everything.
Yeah, that's a common one. But the guide clarifies two really distinct and important states: humid and dry.
Right.
Humid is that feeling where the air itself just feels thick or moist. Sticky.
Sticky is the perfect word, and it's common in tropical regions. It affects your comfort, your ability to exercise, even your hair.
Oh, I think we've all had those days where you walk outside and it feels like the air's wearing you.
That's a perfect description. And then you have dry, which is its polar opposite, very little moisture in the air. And while we associate it with sunny skies, it's also common in deep winter.
And the practical side of that is totally different.
Completely. It makes your skin feel itchy, or you need to use a specific moisturizer. When you can articulate whether the air is dry or humid, you sound like you actually live there, not like you're just visiting.
Okay, moving to temperature. We all know cold. But using the word freezing, that has immediate weight. It forces a response.
Freezing implies very cold, often below 0 degrees Celsius. This isn't just about comfort anymore, it's a safety cue.
Right.
When you say it's freezing outside, you are communicating an immediate non-negotiable need for a warm coat, gloves, being prepared. If you're talking about a commute, it means checking for black ice. And finally, my favorite pair of descriptive words, because they relate so much to aesthetics and safety: the difference between mist and fog.
This is such a great example of nuance. The guide notes that misty weather is similar to fog, but it's significantly lighter.
Lighter, okay.
You see it a lot in the early morning. It does make roads slippery. That's the practical danger. But the language lets us use it beautifully. It makes a landscape look magical.
So if I say it's misty, I'm basically saying drive carefully, but also, wow, look how beautiful the hills are.
Exactly. Compare that to fog, which usually means heavy density. And then when the sun just disappears completely, that's overcast. The sky is just fully covered by clouds.
And while overcast weather can definitely feel a bit gloomy, the source mentions a planning benefit.
It does. It's often cooler and more comfortable for walking or exercising outdoors.
So that's the utility of these words. They turn a simple observation into a reason for action. You stop saying, it's raining hard. You start saying,
It's stormy, so I have to stay indoors and postpone that airport run.
that shift from description to prediction and planning is so essential for fluency.
It is. The weather dictates our immediate practical actions: safety, travel, what clothes we pick out.
Right. And when we talk about planning, we often focus on what we're wearing. The source gives some great examples of how certain words trigger specific attire.
Yeah, if you describe the day as windy, you're signaling the need for a windbreaker. If you say it's sunny, you grab sunglasses.
And if it's freezing.
You need proper boots and gloves. This is the simplest form of conversational planning. But the more advanced conversation often revolves around timing and uncertainty.
You mean those phrases we use when the forecast is, a bit unreliable?
Yes. We often talk about waiting for the weather to clear up before going for a walk, or using phrases that buy time, like, I'll check the forecast again in an hour.
That sounds so much more natural than just saying, I don't know.
Way more natural.
Okay, let's drill down on the essential phrases for forecasts. I see 4 key ones listed. But why is a phrase like, it might snow tomorrow, considered so high value? I mean, isn't that kind of basic?
That's a really good question. It's not the complexity of the phrase itself, but its frequency and its context in a conversational flow.
Okay.
The forecast says it will rain later is essential because it is almost always followed by a decision. And it might snow tomorrow is a simple prediction, but it triggers planning, travel changes, work from home decisions, that sort of thing.
Got it. The other 2 are, the weather is expected to improve in the afternoon, and strong winds are predicted tonight. The first one is a real gem. Why is expected to improve so high value?
It manages expectations and it dictates strategy. If I know improvement is expected, I don't cancel my plans entirely. I just postpone them.
Until after lunch, maybe.
Exactly. It signals optimism and patience. And strong winds are predicted as pure risk management. It's a warning, not just a fact.
What I find truly fascinating is the common conversational pattern that combines the prediction and then the reaction to it. It's never just a statement.
No, it's a statement of fact followed by a plan. We're constantly simulating this internal dialogue externally. We predict the potential issue, say, a heavy shower, and immediately offer the solution.
I'll take my umbrella just in case.
And the real marker of fluency is that natural reply that validates the preparedness. Good idea, it's better to be prepared. If you can do that full sequence, you've basically nailed practical fluency.
Let's pivot now, because weather isn't just external data, it's an internal feeling. We need to shift to the subjective language, the part that injects real personality into the conversation, how the weather makes us feel.
This section is so crucial because, let's be honest, people talk about the weather to connect emotionally. The language guide maps specific weather types to emotional responses, almost like they're character traits.
Let's map them out. Sunny is happy, cheerful. That one's universal.
Pretty much. But then you get to rain and the personality splits.
How's
Rainy days can be disliked because you get wet and your plans are ruined, right? But they are also cited as being calm or relaxed, the perfect backdrop for reading a book indoors.
And what about snow? I always hear people describe snow not just as cold, but as something else.
The guide uses the word magical.
Magical, I like that.
It instantly elevates the description from a temperature reading to an experience. It suggests beauty, quiet, transformation.
What about those days where the sky is just muted? The cloudy or overcast days?
They often carry a connotation of feeling sleepy or restful or calm. They lower the energy level, which can be exactly what you need sometimes.
And then windy is the opposite.
Totally the opposite. They're associated with feeling energized, maybe a little restless. You want to go out and move.
Here's where the drama comes back in.
Mhm.
We talked about stormy weather being dangerous, but you mentioned the guide described it as cinematic. I love that.
That's the perfect word, isn't it? Stormy weather is dramatic, exciting. It feels like it belongs in a film, but you have to balance that excitement with the reality.
Are we doing the danger?
The source is careful to note it can be scary if you aren't secure inside. The key lesson here is that you can use the same word to convey two things at once: danger and aesthetic appreciation.
It's all about framing. So instead of just stating the condition, we use these adjectives in full sentences that reflect our internal state. We move from fact to preference.
Exactly. Windy days make me feel so energized, I think I'll go for a run.
Or, I love cloudy days. They feel so calm, perfect for getting some focused work done.
That is the conversational goal. You're turning a meteorological report into a statement about your personal relationship with the environment.
To get to that natural relationship, that full fluency, we need to see how these elements, the vocabulary, emotions, the planning, how they actually stack up in a longer natural dialogue.
Right. The structure of a real-world conversation is never linear. It combines prediction, planning, and opinions all at once. The guide offered a fantastic example: planning a hike.
Let's walk through that. If I'm planning a hike with you, the first thing I might say is, the forecast is predicting a heavy shower later today, but the air feels really dry right now.
And my reply would immediately jump to risk assessment. I'd say, okay, if we go, we need to make sure we're off the high trails before the strong winds kick in. That combination is a real danger.
And that's where we layer in the opposite risks. If the forecast changes and says, it's going to be sunny and humid, the conversation shifts completely.
Completely. We're now talking about hydration, sunscreen, maybe starting the hike much earlier to avoid that midday stickiness. Safety first is the constant theme in planning dialogues.
Weather planning isn't just about fun. It's about managing immediate, tangible risks.
Absolutely.
So that's the real-world application. But to sound truly fluent, we also need to absorb some of those advanced expressions from news and forecasts, the phrases that signal high-level comprehension.
Yes. For example, instead of just saying cloudy, you use a more powerful phrase like, the sky is overcast with thick clouds.
That gives a much better visual.
A much better visual and feeling. Or instead of, it will rain, using, there's a heavy shower expected.
And these phrases about visibility are high value because they directly connect language to a necessary change in your behavior.
Totally. The air feels damp and humid is a perfect descriptive phrase. But for safety, phrases like foggy conditions are reducing visibility are essential. If you hear that, you know you have to slow down, turn on your lights, and prepare for hazards.
That phrase is the actionable takeaway.
It is.
So what's the final distillation for our listener? How do we synthesize all this into a practical strategy for speaking more naturally?
I think the guidance is simple but powerful. Always check the forecast before you leave. When you describe the weather, abandon the basic terms. Use those strong, descriptive, high-return adjectives: stormy, windy, humid, freezing.
And show your feelings.
And fundamentally, yes, share your feelings about it, whether you feel relaxed, energized, or sleepy. By doing that, you get that seamless dual benefit, improving your language skills and making better, safer, practical life decisions.
That dual focus is the real insight here. We move so far beyond basic reporting. We've shown how weather conversation is really this complex negotiation between planning, emotion, and risk.
It's the ultimate bridge to natural interaction, making you feel more prepared and just more competent in any environment.
So here's the final provocative thought for you to chew on. Every time you describe the weather, whether you label it magical or dangerous, you are inherently performing a tiny risk assessment and planning your immediate future. You are choosing your words to communicate safety, comfort, and strategy. So what decisions are you making right now based on the conditions outside your window? And how much better does your language sound when you use terms like overcast with thick clouds or damp and humid to describe them? Go out there and be prepared linguistically and practically.
Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take concepts you see every single day and, well, we find the surprising and useful depth that's hiding just under the surface. Today, we are tackling what might be the most common conversation starter in the entire world: the weather.
Absolutely.
But we're not just, reporting the forecast here. Our mission is to really upgrade your English, to move way beyond just sunny or rainy.
Yeah, beyond the basics.
To a level of nuance that lets you have these really descriptive, confident, and natural conversations.
Yeah.
We want you to see the weather as an active, vivid part of your day.
Exactly. What we found so compelling in the material is that fluency isn't just knowing the word for rain. It's knowing the word that captures the specific intensity, the effect of that rain.
Right.
We're looking at advanced vocabulary, yes, but also the conversational strategies that people use to link weather to their life, their moods, their plans. The goal here is to make your English feel more real, more grounded.
Okay, so let's unpack this. If you really want to sound fluent and precise, you need words that convey intensity. Words that instantly signal if something is severe or mild or even positive.
Right, the subtext.
So let's start with the lighter side of precipitation. The first word that really elevates the discussion is drizzle.
And this is not just light rain.
No, the material is so specific. It's defined as light rain that is gentle and steady.
And that's the key, isn't it? Gentle and steady.
The example we pulled just highlights it perfectly. I enjoy walking in a light drizzle.
That phrase alone tells you so much. It implies a condition that's, non-threatening. It might be damp, sure, but it's not soaking. It doesn't stop life.
And you can contrast that immediately with a word that basically dictates cancellation: thunderstorm.
Oh, yeah. Big difference.
The definition is a storm with thunder, lightning, and heavy rain. And the context immediately shifts from convenience to safety.
Totally. The instruction is basically stay indoors during a thunderstorm. And that's the key difference. Drizzle is something you adapt to. Maybe you grab an umbrella. A thunderstorm is something you have to cancel an outdoor activity for. The word choice itself carries the weight of the action you need to take.
Okay, so moving on to the more severe extremes. First, let's look at blizzard.
Right.
This is not just heavy snow. It's a severe snowstorm with strong winds and really, really low visibility.
The disruptive effect is just immediate.
Yeah, the blizzard last night blocked roads. It's an instant signal of a major, possibly dangerous disruption.
And on the flip side of that, you have severe heat, the term heat wave.
A prolonged period of very hot weather.
And again, it's not just a description of the temperature, is it? It sort of comes with this unspoken health warning.
It does. We found a self-care instruction right there with the definition. Remember to drink lots of water during a heat wave.
Yeah, it turns the description into an actionable, urgent reminder.
Okay, so now for the milder stuff. This is where we start distinguishing between, say, pleasantness and inconvenience. We have the word chilly. It means slightly cold, noticeable, but, and this is crucial, not freezing.
And this is where that specificity is just gold for a learner. I mean, how is chilly different from just cool?
That's a great question.
We often use cool in a positive way, right? It's a nice break from the heat. But chilly, that kind of implies a complaint, or at least a need for preparation.
Yes. The example from the source captures that perfectly. Bring a sweater. It might be chilly outside. If it were just cool, you might enjoy it. If it's chilly, you need gear.
You need gear, exactly.
And the flip side of that coin is breezy.
A great word.
Defined as windy, but in a really pleasant, light way. You wouldn't really complain about breezy weather.
No, not at all. In fact, the material suggests it's an asset. It's good for recreation.
Like what?
Well, the classic example, breezy weather is perfect for a walk or for flying a kite. It has this positive, refreshing feeling, which makes it totally different from a negative word like, say, gusty.
That's a great point. So this brings us to the next level of application. We're not just listing words here.
Not at all.
We're using weather to actually manage daily life, not just describe it. The specificity we just talked about becomes the hinge for making decisions.
Yes. That connection between the forecast and what you plan to do is just central to fluent conversation.
So decision making.
Think about it. We saw examples of people using a predicted thunderstorm to, cancel a picnic, or deciding to move a hike earlier in the morning to avoid a Sunday heat wave.
It's all about adaptation. Simple things like recognizing that a breezy morning makes the air feel fresh enough for a run.
Or deciding where to walk when you're in that gentle drizzle.
Right. Maybe walking under the trees for a bit of cover. It turns an inconvenience into a kind of pleasant path.
And that adaptation leads right into preparation, the actual gear you need. The material is very precise about this, which again reinforces how useful the vocabulary is.
Let's review that gear list because it's so practical. The specific weather dictates the gear.
Always.
If it's raining, you need a waterproof jacket. If the morning is chilly,
You're bringing gloves and a scarf, no question.
during a heat wave, you obviously need plenty of water. But what about when it's breezy and sunny?
That's a tricky one.
Because the breeze is cooling you down, but you still need sunscreen and a hat, you might not feel the sun's intensity right away.
Exactly. And this is where we can deepen the dive even more. Weather is so deeply tied to our emotional lives.
Oh, absolutely.
And talking about that link is essential for conversational depth. The material analyzed how weather affects mood, and it found this surprisingly wide range of emotions.
I found that mood list fascinating because it shows how weather shapes our inner life. The drizzle, for instance, is described as relaxing and calming.
Which makes sense. A gentle, steady rain is often associated with slowing down, being cozy.
And contrast that with a thunderstorm.
Completely different energy. A thunderstorm can be scary, yes, but it's also described as dramatic or exciting, especially when you're watching it from safely inside. It's a spectacle.
It really is. The extremes are also emotionally charged. A blizzard is labeled as both beautiful and dangerous.
That dichotomy just perfectly captures the feeling of being snowed in. It's cozy, but it's also a little threatening.
Then you have the heat wave. The material explicitly links it to feeling lazy and tired. It's an immediate, accepted excuse for low productivity.
It really is. I can't do anything. It's a heat wave.
And finally, those cozy conditions. Chilly mornings make people want hot tea. Comfort.
And snowy mornings, surprisingly, are linked to feeling happy and energetic, maybe because of the novelty or the idea of getting to play in it.
So when you combine these two things, the decision-making and the mood, that's when you hit real fluency.
That's it. You're not just saying it's 40 degrees and windy. You're saying it's a chilly morning, perfect for me to enjoy my hot tea before I put on my scarf and head out. I'm feeling relaxed, but I know I need to move quickly. You're describing an entire emotional and logistical landscape.
And to put the final polish on this conversational skill, we have to move beyond single words to established expressions, idioms.
The fluent finish.
This is where the language becomes deeply ingrained in the culture.
And we should assume our listeners probably know the basic definitions, but what they really need is a context. When do you actually use them for maximum impact?
Yes, exactly. How do they add that fluidity? So let's break down the 5 common weather idioms we found.
Let's do it.
First, a descriptive one. We all know it's raining cats and dogs.
Classic.
Yes, it means it's raining heavily, but using it signals that you're being playful, maybe a bit dramatic. You're not just stating a fact.
Right. Then there's the emotional or physical status idiom, under the weather.
Which means feeling sick.
Yeah. And you use this to show empathy or to politely excuse yourself. It's softer, less clinical than saying, I have a cold.
It's a gentle way to describe being mildly ill. Next, the philosophical one. Every cloud has a silver lining.
The ultimate optimistic phrase. Finding something positive in a bad situation. It's a way to shift the mood of a conversation.
And it's so practical.
It is. It lets you acknowledge a problem, like a scary thunderstorm, and then immediately pivot to a good outcome. The source actually provides a perfect example of this.
What was it?
The thunderstorm was scary, but every cloud has a silver lining. It made the air fresh and cool. It just effortlessly combines description, emotion, and an idiom.
That's brilliant. Okay, finally, the social and commitment idioms. Fourth, break the ice.
Starting a conversation, easing social tension.
Right. It's a proactive phrase, like talking about this crazy heat wave was a great way to break the ice at the meeting.
And the fifth one, come rain or shine.
This one signifies absolute commitment no matter what.
I'll go jogging tomorrow, come rain or shine.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be about the actual weather. It just shows determination.
It's a metaphor for any obstacle.
Exactly. These idioms stop your dialogue from sounding like a direct translation.
Yeah.
They're conversational lubricants. At the end of the day, the core utility of all this advanced weather talk is that it's not just a descriptive exercise.
Yeah.
It is a powerful, ready-made way to start conversations, share opinions, give forecasts, and plan your life. And that is the very definition of improving your overall fluency.
Which brings us to the end of our deep dive. We've moved way beyond the basics to use specific words like drizzle, blizzard, and chilly to describe intensity and what you need to do. We've connected the weather to our emotional state, from feeling lazy during a heat wave to energetic on a snowy morning, and learned how to plan activities based on that precision. You now have the tools to make weather an active, vivid part of your English.
The source material explicitly said that this level of planning makes everything more enjoyable. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises an important question for you, the listener. Now that you have these vivid descriptive tools, what specific weather condition, be it a chilly evening that calls for hot cocoa or a breezy afternoon that's just perfect for a certain outdoor activity, what condition will you actively plan an activity around this week? And when you do, make sure to notice how that specific condition affects your mood and your decisions. Go use those new words to capture the moment. Welcome to the deep dive. You gave us a specific stack of sources this time, all focused on one thing: mastering English weather conversation.
Right.
And our mission today is to really just deliver the absolute essence of that material.
That's it. We're not trying to make you a meteorologist here. Not at all.
Yeah.
But we are trying to give you a kind of shortcut to fluency on, well, probably the most common daily topic there is.
It has to be.
So we're pulling out the essential vocabulary, the phrases you can use immediately, and the building blocks, all so you can handle a sudden drizzle or an unexpected heat wave with, total confidence.
Well, weather is the ultimate icebreaker, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you only know like 5 ways to describe rain, you're going to hit a wall really fast. So I think the key to this deep dive is showing you not just the words, but how native speakers actually use them to, predict and plan and even express how they're feeling.
And that's the crucial part. Being able to talk about the weather confidently, it's such a foundational skill. We're focusing on giving you the precise building blocks and then showing you how they work in the real world.
So you never have that moment of panic.
Exactly. When someone just turns to you and asks, so what's it like outside?
Okay, so let's start right at the base. The source material, it identifies 16 core descriptive words. This is your indispensable toolkit.
The absolute essentials.
Right. And instead of just listing them, the resource does something really smart. It categorizes them. And that structure is, that's the real learning nugget here.
Absolutely. Because organizing them by function, what you see, what it's doing, and how it feels, it's just so much better for your memory.
Right. So let's look at that first group. These are the words describing the general, the appearance, the state of the sky.
What you see when you look out the window.
Exactly. So we have sunny, cloudy, stormy, and then foggy and misty.
That's the visual. And the second category, it focuses more on precipitation and specific events. This is when the weather is doing something.
Something dramatic or impactful.
Yeah. So this list has the basics, rainy and snowy, but then it gets more specific with things like drizzle, which is so key for light rain and thunderstorm, blizzard, and heat wave.
And then that third group, that's all about the temperature and just the general feel of the air. These are the words that tell you which coat to grab. So we've got chilly, breezy, humid, freezing, and overcast.
And if you look closely at that grouping, the real insight is that the feel words, they're the only ones you can really use accurately without even looking outside.
Oh, that's a great point.
You can say, it feels humid in here, right? Or it's a bit chilly by a window, even when you're indoors. The others require you to actually see what's happening. These single words, they form the base, but understanding their function is what makes them so usable.
That makes perfect sense. They move from, visual input to a physical sensation. Okay, so let's unpack this and move up a level. Nobody actually communicates in single words.
No, not really.
We need to get to those ready-to-use phrases that make a dialogue feel, truly natural.
And the source material is smart to make that jump pretty quickly. Those little linking phrases, they are the key conversational connectors. A flat description like just rainy.
Yeah, that doesn't really invite a response.
It doesn't, but a prediction or an opinion, that does.
Okay, so we have some essential phrases here for immediate use. For just a general description, we need ways to connect the visual. For instance, the sky is clear versus
the sky is overcast.
Exactly.
And when you want to signal that the weather is changing right now, the sources give you that crucial prediction language. The go-to phrase is probably, it looks like rain.
Or it's clearing up.
Yeah.
And when you're describing how it feels, the structure changes a bit. You use sensory verbs like it feels humid outside, or in the winter, it's freezing this morning.
And the wind phrases are great for warning or planning.
There's a light breeze, or strong winds are expected this afternoon.
And what's so fascinating here is how the verb usage in those expressions looks like, feels, is expected. It completely changes the purpose of the conversation.
How so?
Well, it shifts the focus from just a simple statement of fact, like the word rain, to you offering a personal observation or a prediction. You're participating in the forecast. You're not just repeating it.
I see.
And that's how you go from just, reciting vocabulary to having a genuine dialogue.
It's the difference between being a human weather report and being a conversational partner.
Exactly.
Okay, now we get to the section the resource calls its mini quiz nuggets. And these are critical because they highlight definitions that non-native speakers often get confused.
Yes.
Precision is power here.
Absolutely. Mastering these fine distinctions is so important for clarity and honestly for safety. If you're planning something, you need to know if you're talking about a light inconvenience or a serious risk.
Okay, let's start with precipitation. What is the real functional difference between just general rain and a drizzle?
Right.
The source defines drizzle as rain that is light. Why is that so important?
Because the severity dictates everything. It dictates the plan. Drizzle means maybe a light jacket is fine, maybe just a hat.
Sure.
Heavy rain means traffic is going to be a mess. You need a full umbrella, maybe even rain boots. Knowing the difference affects your commute, your clothes, everything.
Next up, let's define a blizzard. It's not just heavy snow. The source is very precise here. A heavy snowstorm with strong winds.
And that combination is everything. The winds cause whiteout conditions, they cause snowdrifts, making travel so dangerous.
Well, it makes it a blizzard warning.
That's it. It's the difference between, building a snowman and not being able to see your own mailbox.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, temperature, a heat wave, defined specifically as weather that is very hot for several days. So duration is the key factor.
One hot day is just a hot day. A heat wave implies stress on the power grid, health risks, sustained changes to your routine.
Right, like running the AC all night or avoiding being outside.
Totally.
And finally, the really critical temperature distinction, the one that tells you if you just need a sweater or if you need to worry about your pipes freezing. Chilly versus freezing.
Ah, this is a big one.
Chilly is just slightly cold, but the key is that it is not freezing.
Exactly. Chilly is subjective. You might feel chilly in a drafty room. Freezing, though, is scientific. It's 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 Celsius.
It means water turns to ice.
Which means roads are dangerous. Unprotected pipes can burst. I mean, who hasn't confused chilly and freezing at some point? These terms aren't just descriptive. They are action alarms.
This is where the training wheels really come off. We're going to analyze the real-life dialogues in the source material and see how this vocabulary is used dynamically.
For planning and consequence. And these scenarios really prove that in English, talking about the weather is almost always a lead-up to taking some kind of action.
So take the first one, planning an outdoor walk. The conversation starts by observing that it's drizzling lightly and it's cloudy. And the immediate consequence is they decide to wait. Now, I wonder about that. Why not just go out with a light coat? Is the source suggesting you should avoid any bad weather?
I think the source implies that the goal is the optimal outcome. If the forecast says it's going to be sunny in the afternoon, why bother with the drizzle?
For casual activity. Right.
Exactly. The description of the drizzle doesn't just dictate the delay. It justifies waiting for the better weather.
Okay, that makes sense. Then the commuting scenario, that's super practical.
Yeah.
The realization that even a light drizzle can slow traffic.
Right.
It leads immediately to proactive advice. Make sure to leave early. So the description generates a clear, measurable action.
And mitigation is central there. Because the wind is strong, the person decides to wear a hood and take an umbrella. The strong wind dictates the gear. It's such an efficient use of language.
Condition A means action B.
Precisely. The goal isn't just to say, it's raining. It's to say, it's raining, therefore I need more time and I should wear specific things. That's the real utility of the conversation.
So weather talk is actually a form of risk management.
That's a great way to put it. It's describing the environment and then deciding on the right course of mitigation.
So moving into the advanced dialogue, we see this link extending to longer-term planning like a trip, and also crucially to emotion. This really is the hallmark of fluency.
Oh, for sure. The ability to adjust complex multi-day plans based on the weather shows you're fully integrated into how the language is used for daily life.
So in this trip planning scenario, the forecast predicts a thunderstorm for Saturday afternoon, and the plan shifts immediately.
Right.
They decide to leave early in the morning when it's supposed to be just breezy and cool. The uncertainty of the storm forces them to move earlier.
And then they anticipate the heat wave warning for Sunday. That requires specific safety-focused prep. The action items are to carry water and sunscreen.
So the language isn't just for immediate protection, but for anticipating future risk and discomfort.
Exactly.
What I find really interesting is that the source gives us a specific framework for linking weather to emotional states. This adds so much more depth than just reporting facts.
It creates rapport. When you describe the weather, you're usually sharing a mood. Sunny days, for instance, clearly make people feel happy or excited. That's pretty universal.
And the more subtle feelings are covered too. Rainy weather and misty mornings can create a feeling of being relaxed or calm.
I love that one.
Yeah, and the overcast sky is specifically described as making the city look gray and peaceful.
But then you get the beautiful contradictions. Stormy weather can be dramatic, and while blizzards are recognized as dangerous, they can also be described as magical.
That's such a great detail. Why do you think the source included that specific contradiction?
I think it acknowledges the dual nature of these powerful weather events. A blizzard is, of course, dangerous and inconvenient, but it can also be stunningly beautiful. It transforms the world into something quiet and untouched.
Including magical. Lets the speaker express both the reality of the weather and the subjective wonder it inspires.
That shared subjectivity is so key. And on the other hand, heat waves are associated with feeling lazy and tired. No wonder the plan involved carrying extra water.
Right.
Conversational fluency demands not just the facts, but sharing how those facts make you feel or how they affect your decisions and your energy levels.
So we've had a pretty comprehensive deep dive today into your practical weather conversation toolkit. We started with those 16 essential vocabulary words, clarified the precise high-stakes definitions for terms like drizzle, blizzard, and heat wave, and we analyzed how weather really dictates planning for every part of your day.
And we learned that the true measure of fluency isn't just knowing the words, but using those action-oriented phrases like looks like or is expected, and then translating those descriptions into actual planning.
So now your next step is just repetition and practice. Use the question drills in the source. Start with simple things like, what's the weather like today? Or do you need an umbrella? And practice answering those out loud. Try to incorporate 2 or 3 of the specific words we covered today.
And here's a final thought to mull over, building on that nuance we were talking about. The source material included both misty and foggy in the site category.
Right.
So think about how those subtle differences in vocabulary, misty implying a sort of dampness, foggy implying density, how that changes the way you instinctively react and plan. Does one feel more dangerous for driving?
Does one feel more mysterious or colder?
Exactly. Noticing that kind of nuance in your own life will keep your language evolving far beyond just the basics.
That's all for this deep dive. We'll see you next time. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to get into something that, on the surface seems really simple, the weather.
Right.
But underneath, it hides some some of the most critical knowledge you can have for just daily planning and, more importantly, safety.
It's a fantastic topic.
We've got a whole stack of sources here that give us this almost advanced vocabulary for weather, and I think our mission today is to cut through all that noise and show you how to use it to make really quick, sometimes even life-saving decisions.
It really is a toolkit, isn't it? Because weather is this one system that just touches everything.
Everything.
It's not just about, is it going to rain? It's about understanding the actual risk mechanisms. Our sources really go beyond the basics. They give you this ability to look at a forecast and just know instantly if you need to think about rescheduling a trip or pulling out some serious gear or honestly just packing an extra bottle of water.
It's about safety, but also just comfort.
Exactly. Maximizing comfort and ensuring safety wherever you are.
And I think the first step really to being well-informed here is realizing that the number you see on the thermometer, well, it's often lying to your body.
It really is.
We have to talk about perceived temperature versus actual temperature.
And it's fascinating how often safety really does hinge on just that one distinction. You can have 2 days, identical air temperature, but the risk level is completely different.
And it all comes down to two key things: wind chill and the heat index.
Exactly.
So let's unpack the cold side first. Wind chill. Everyone's heard the term, but for our audience, why does wind, which is just moving air, make it feel colder?
It's all about a mechanism of rapid heat loss. The sources define wind chill as what the temperature feels like when wind basically strips away the heat from your body.
Okay.
Your body naturally creates this little insulating layer of warm air right next to your skin. It's called the boundary layer.
Right.
And when the wind hits you, it just rips that layer away instantly and replaces it with colder air.
Wow, that sounds aggressive. So the wind isn't actually making the air itself colder.
No, not at all. It's just making your body's own defense system, that insulation, totally ineffective.
I see.
The rate of heat transfer just accelerates massively. If the wind chill makes it feel, say, much colder than 0 Celsius, our sources are really clear. That is an immediate high-risk environment.
So just saying dress warmly doesn't quite cut it.
It's not enough, no. This knowledge forces you to understand you absolutely need layered windproof clothing to prevent something like hypothermia, which can happen way faster than you think if the wind is up.
Okay, so let's flip that, the opposite problem, the heat index. This isn't about wind stripping away heat, it's about humidity trapping it in.
Exactly right. The heat index is the measure of how hot it feels when you combine the air temperature with the humidity. So, the temperature might be 35 degrees, but if the humidity is high, the heat index could be 42.
And that's the number you have to plan for.
That's the one that matters.
So why does humidity make such a big difference in that equation? I mean, why does 80% humidity feel so much worse than, say, 20%?
It's because of your body's main cooling method. Sweating.
All right.
Specifically evaporative sweating. When humidity is low, your sweat evaporates really quickly, and that process pulls heat away from your skin. But when it's humid, the air is already full of moisture.
So it has nowhere to go.
Your sweat can't evaporate, it just sits there. And that traps the heat inside your body, causing your core temperature to rise dangerously fast.
So if you see a forecast with a heat index near 40 degrees Celsius, that's not a suggestion to maybe drink some water. That's a massive red flag.
It's a red flag that says the environment is actively working against your body's systems. It requires immediate caution. Our sources highlighted that, you have to be drinking water constantly and minimizing physical effort, not just to avoid dehydration, but heat stroke.
Which is a full-blown medical emergency.
A life-threatening one, yeah.
Yeah.
All because the body just can't cool itself down.
Okay, we've covered the thermal reality, what it feels like. Let's shift now from that kind of stress to physical force, destruction. We need to look at these high-impact events: gales, floods, and hail.
Starting with gales. The difference between a breezy day and a gale it's enormous.
Right.
A gale is a very strong wind. It's not a hurricane, but it's definitely not a day you want to be out on the water.
And the impact on daily life is pretty much immediate, right? It's like a down trees, power lines.
Oh, yeah. And real difficulty driving. The sources gave a really clear piece of advice. If strong gales are expected, you stay indoors. You secure anything outside that could become a projectile.
And that ties right into the next risk, which is infrastructure with a flood.
A flood is just, water covering land that's normally dry. But for anyone traveling, this is maybe the single most dangerous and immediate risk.
Absolutely. Because a flooded road, it's not just wet. You can't see what's underneath. You have no idea how deep it is.
And it doesn't take much. The data shows main roads can be blocked instantly. The knowledge here demands that you proactively check flood warnings for your entire route, not just where you're starting.
Yeah, that's a key point.
A foot of moving water can float a car. A foot.
Wow. Okay, so if gales are about movement and floods are about water, hail is about solid objects falling from the sky.
Pretty much. Small balls of ice, they can be brief, but the damage is incredibly concentrated and fast.
And it's mostly property damage, right? Cars, roofs.
Exactly. The protocol is simple. If a bad hailstorm is coming, get your car under cover and stay inside. And if you are caught outside, find real shelter immediately and cover your head. Those hailstones can cause serious injuries.
Okay, that brings us to the most unpredictable and maybe the most immediately life-threatening phenomenon, lightning. It's that huge flash of electricity. Simple definition, but the danger is just absolute.
It's the unpredictability. Lightning strikes are instantaneous. You can't guess where the next one will be, which is why the safety protocols and the sources are so urgent. We're past general advice here.
And they didn't pull any punches. If lightning strikes nearby, what is the absolute first thing you have to do?
Go indoors immediately. No hesitation. But the details really matter.
Like what?
Keep away from tall trees, obviously, but also metal objects. They act as conductors. This is where, a bit of physics knowledge meets personal safety.
And here's the detail that I think really made this a deep dive insight for me. In one of the emergency scenarios, it said to check your backpack and close any metal water bottles. Why that specific tiny action?
That detail is all about the risk of conduction. Metal is highly conductive.
Right.
Now, a small bottle probably won't attract a strike, but if a strike lands nearby, that electrical energy can travel through the ground. Anything conductive you're holding, or that's on you, like an open metal bottle, it could become a path for that current.
So you're basically minimizing the electrical path to you.
You're eliminating it. It's a small action that makes a huge difference.
That's powerful. That's moving from don't stand under a tree to really understanding energy. So let's synthesize all this. Let's take the vocabulary wind chill, heat index, gale, flood, hail, lightning, and apply it.
This is the payoff, right? The value isn't knowing the word, it's using it for risk assessment. Let's take a scenario. You're planning a long, essential car trip.
Okay, yeah. How does this change my decision-making?
Well, you start integrating. If you're driving south in summer, the forecast might show high temperatures, but you immediately look for the heat index. If it peaks at, say, 42 degrees in the afternoon,
I shouldn't be driving then.
you should plan to leave much earlier, like 6 a.m., travel in the cooler part of the day. It reduces fatigue, it reduces stress on your car's cooling system.
So that's rescheduling based on thermal stress. What about physical risks, like gales?
If your route has high bridges and the forecast shows strong gales after midday, you need to check for bridge closure warnings. You might even decide to take a longer, lower route if the wind is near gale force. Driving a big vehicle on an exposed bridge in that kind of wind is it's incredibly risky.
So it's a system. Use the term, assess the risk mechanism, heat, electricity force, and then adjust your timing in your route.
Precisely. Let's try another one.
Go.
A long hike. A 15-kilometer hike.
Okay.
You check for gales, heat index, lightning. If gales are predicted for the afternoon, the plan isn't to just hope for the best.
No, you leave at sunrise.
You leave at sunrise so you're back before the wind really picks up.
And what if the heat index is going to climb?
That immediately changes your supplies. You pack way more water than you think you need. You use high SPF sunscreen. Maybe you even plan a few turnaround points in case it just gets too dangerous. You're using the forecast to pack the right gear, not just the right clothes.
The sources also had that really complex scenario of an outdoor festival facing strong winds and hail. That's organizational.
That demands a whole risk matrix. If gales and hail are expected, the organizers have to have clear evacuation routes and they have to communicate them.
Right.
Performers and equipment need secure, covered areas, not just flimsy tents. And emergency staff need to be briefed on high wind protocols. Clear communication is everything.
It's a total mindset shift, isn't it? Moving from just prediction to actual preparation. And, before we wrap up, it's worth mentioning the human element. The sources did touch on how this language lets you express your feelings about whether being nervous in a thunderstorm or hating the wind on a bridge.
And being able to articulate that, grounded in knowledge, is important. But I think the main outcome here is empowerment. You have the terms to move past just general anxiety into targeted, effective action.
Absolutely. So, to recap our deep dive, Using this specific weather language, wind chill, heat index, gale, flood, hail, lightning, it's the fastest shortcut to being properly informed. It lets you understand the why behind the danger, and that ensures you can be proactive about safety and comfort in, well, pretty much every part of your life.
It really just reinforces that need for proactive checking and critical thinking. This knowledge doesn't just let you react to a warning. It lets you start conversations, plan tricks intelligently, and stay safe because you understand the precise mechanism of the risk.
We focus so much on risks and hazards today, but the sources also mention how weather can affect our mood. Like, someone saying, I love misty mornings, they make scenery magical.
Yeah.
So beyond just avoiding risk, here's something for you to mull over. If you can accurately predict and prepare for a peak heat index day, what's the most effective way to use that knowledge, not just to stay safe, but to actively enhance an outdoor experience? Maybe by finding that perfect time, a perfect shady spot where the heat index stays comfortable. Something to think about until next time. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So you gave us a massive stack of sources, all focused on one pretty essential goal, achieving natural English fluency. And today, we're not just talking about grammar, we are diving deep into the expressive vocabulary of weather. And this isn't about, predicting rain.
Not at all.
It's about using the sky, the clouds, the temperature to talk about our emotions, our commitments, and just the chaotic situations life throws at us.
Exactly. And our source material, which is just packed with idioms, phrasal verbs, and these little conversational role plays, it underlines a critical truth.
Which is?
If you want to sound truly fluent, really natural, you have to master this layer of metaphorical language. These weather terms aren't just cliches, they are, the social lubrication of common English speech.
Okay, so here's our mission for you, the listener. By the time we wrap up this deep dive, you won't just know these terms. The goal is that you'll confidently understand the context and the nuance you need to weave them into your daily dialogue.
You'll move beyond the basics of describing the atmosphere
and start describing reality itself. So where do we begin?
Let's start with the foundation, weather idioms. These phrases, they act like a kind of shorthand, often describing a static state, a feeling, a situation, or an unwavering resolve.
Let's unpack this with a classic. We all know raining cats and dogs. It means heavy rain, obviously. But what makes it interesting is the dramatic flair it adds.
It's the sheer hyperbole. It's not just wet. It's a statement about intensity.
Right.
The sources note its practical application, of course, for forgetting your umbrella, but also for explaining why a major sporting event was canceled. You use it to justify a massive interruption.
So it signals that the action was, inescapable because the rain was just that bad.
Precisely.
Okay, so that brings us to describing our own conditions. You don't always want to be blunt when you feel unwell. The idiom under the weather offers a fantastic, gentle alternative.
Oh, this is a perfect example of that linguistic social lubrication we mentioned. It means feeling sick, sure, but it typically implies something minor or temporary. A cold, fatigue, maybe a headache.
The examples in the sources were very relatable. Choosing to stay home from work or noting a colleague missed a meeting.
Right, and crucially, the sources highlight that using this phrase is generally way better than stating a specific, maybe even graphic illness in casual conversation. It just preserves social comfort.
That makes perfect sense. It says you're temporarily out of commission without needing to give your entire medical history.
Exactly.
Now, let's shift gears completely. Let's talk perspective and optimism with the powerhouse phrase. Every cloud has a silver lining.
This idiom is all about finding something positive in a bad situation. And I found it fascinating that the source material gave two really distinct scenarios to show its range. One minor, one major.
Right. The minor one was missing a train, classic travel frustration. But then you realize the silver lining is that you met an old friend at the station you hadn't seen in years.
And then there's the much more substantial example, losing a job. That's a major dark cloud.
For sure.
But the silver lining is that the forced change actually leads you to find a job that is significantly better or more aligned with your goals. But this raises a crucial point, and it's a great question for you, the listener. When is the right time to use it?
That's so true. If a friend just got devastating news, throwing out every cloud has a silver lining might sound, dismissive, or cold even.
Precisely. The sources implicitly suggest this phrase is most effective after the immediate shock has passed, or when the speaker is applying it to their own past experience, not telling someone else how to feel.
So it's a tool for reflective optimism, not like immediate consolation.
You got it.
Okay, moving into social engineering, let's talk about reducing tension with break the ice. That moment of starting a conversation in a new, maybe slightly awkward setting.
Right. To break the ice just means starting that first, often tentative conversation. The sources mention using a lighthearted joke at a party, but the deep dive insight here is the meta connection. They explicitly state that asking about the weather is one of the most common and reliable ways to break the ice globally.
Wait, so the topic we're analyzing right now, weather terms, is the literal mechanism most people use to begin a connection.
Yes. It's this fascinating layer of circularity. It just shows the universal low-stakes nature of the subject.
Wow.
And finally, in this idiom set, we have come rain or shine. This is pure commitment language.
It means no matter what happens. It's for expressing unwavering resolve. It could be for a simple habit, like guaranteeing your morning walk, or showing deeper loyalty, like supporting a friend unconditionally.
And note the tone here. While it means the same thing as, say, come hell or high water, come rain or shine, has a softer, less aggressive feel, almost poetic.
It suggests you're prepared for natural difficulty, rather than expecting total chaos.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so we've covered these powerful idioms, the static phrases. But if idioms are about describing a state feeling sick, being hopeful, then the real magic comes when we talk about change.
And that's where the weather phrasal verbs come in. What's fascinating here is how seamlessly these verbs move from describing meteorology to describing transitions in emotion or clarity or even professional situations. They are the language of flux.
Let's look at improvement and clarity first. We have clear up.
In weather terms, it means the sky gets sunny or better. The sources noted the sky clearing up just in time for a picnic, a literal welcome change.
But metaphorically.
Metaphorically, we use clear up for confusion or misunderstandings. You might say, I hope this meeting will clear up the confusion around the new policy. It's about a transition to clarity.
And its positive partner, warm up.
Physically, the temperature increases. The morning was chilly, but it warmed up by noon. But think about its non-weather use. If you're getting ready for a presentation, you need to warm up your voice.
Or a comedian needs to warm up the audience.
Right. It's about building positive momentum.
Okay, so on the darker side of transition, we have deterioration. First, cloud over.
Literally, the sky darkens, suggesting rain. It clouded over quickly after lunch. But we use this exact same language for emotional states.
How so?
If someone suddenly looks worried or unhappy, their face can cloud over. It implies a swift, negative change in mood, often right before trouble or sadness.
Ah, I see. And cool down.
Temperature decreasing is the literal use. But metaphorically, this is vital in conflict management. After a heated argument, people need to step away and cool down.
So it's about reducing emotional heat to allow for rational thought.
Exactly. The sources even note it's widely used in negotiation scenarios.
And finally, the essential resolution verb, blow over.
This one is incredibly reassuring. It means a storm, or more relevantly, a temporary argument or disagreement, ends without causing any lasting damage. I used this just last week when my child was having a meltdown about homework. I just kept telling myself, this will blow over in 10 minutes.
And did it?
It did. It conveys that assurance that the current unpleasantness is temporary and will just dissipate.
So we've built this incredible toolkit. Now we hit the final, crucial segment, application and context. This is where we analyze how to use these terms to genuinely sound more confident and fluent.
Right. And the sources really emphasize that integrating multiple terms into a cohesive narrative is the mark of true mastery.
Let's analyze the storytelling structure they provided. It shows how linguistically economical these terms can be.
Okay.
They start by setting the initial state. It was a chilly autumn morning, the sky was cloudy and light drizzle. Then they escalate the situation with an idiom. They decided to walk, even though it was raining cats and dogs at times.
And then the transition verbs deliver the resolution. After about an hour, the clouds started to clear up, and by noon, the sun came out and the air warmed up considerably.
That's 3 different vocabulary types: state, intensity, and change, all in 3 sentences.
It's incredibly efficient.
And the optional variant they provided was fascinating because it integrated the personal state. The walker was initially feeling under the weather, but the whole experience was salvaged, reminding them that every cloud has a silver lining after they met an old friend. It shows how personal perspective and the environment are constantly linked in English conversation.
Okay, let's turn to the practical dialogue analysis, like the short cafe chat the sources broke down. This is where you see the density of usage.
Right. One friend notes it's clouding over outside, asking if they should leave, while the other reassures them with the opposite transition. The forecast says it will clear up. So right away, you have the verbs of change in action.
Then the social check-in happens. You look a little under the weather, and the response is the ultimate synthesis. The friend uses every cloud has a silver lining.
Because the positive side is that they got their favorite coffee, despite the bad weather and feeling a bit sick.
Exactly. And the dialogue is sealed with that commitment idiom. Come rain or shine, coffee always makes the day better.
It's such an efficient exchange, but it relies entirely on these shared metaphors. If you miss the meaning of just one of those, you miss the emotional context of the whole conversation.
And just as important as knowing the meaning is understanding the contextual risk or the contextual misfire. You mentioned it earlier, the difference between minor and major sickness.
Right.
If someone has a serious long-term illness, saying they're just under the weather, totally diminishes the severity. It sounds really inappropriate to a native speaker.
That's a powerful point. The sophistication is in the deployment, not just the definition. And in the scenario of meeting someone new, the weather provided that perfect opening. The new friend could describe their arrival trouble by saying, "It was raining cats and dogs getting here."
And the analysis of that role play noted that the entire exchange could be summarized by the purpose of that first comment. Talking about the weather is often the easiest way to break the ice.
It's self-referential instruction, basically. It confirms its own utility.
Exactly.
To consolidate all of this, let's look at the future-focused conversation the sources offered, like planning a picnic or a trip. This requires complete synthesis of everything we've talked about.
You start with commitment, deciding to go on the picnic, come rain or shine. Then you use a mitigating phrase. If it rains heavily, they can find shelter, reminding themselves that every cloud has a silver lining.
Then you anticipate change. It might start chilly, but will hopefully warm up later in the afternoon. And the ultimate hope for resolution, that any storm will just blow over quickly.
Using these phrases shows mastery because you're demonstrating not just vocabulary, but cultural understanding of optimism, of resilience, of emotional management. They're functional, lively, confident elements of speech.
So the key takeaway here, for you, the learner, is to recognize that these idioms and phrasal verbs are not just decorative. They're the gears that drive fast, natural English conversation.
Start noticing them everywhere.
And practice using them not just to describe the sky, but to describe your life.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it raises this important observation that the source material kept underscoring. Weather is one of the few truly universal, non-controversial topics we have. It's the designated subject to break the ice.
It provides common ground without requiring shared politics, shared history, or shared faith.
Exactly. It suggests that climate and natural events function as one of the most reliable foundation points for human connection and shared experience, come rain or shine.
It's a deep testament to how we relate to the natural world.
It is. Learning to speak about it expressively is learning to tap into one of the oldest forms of human communication. So go out and listen for those idioms tomorrow. You'll hear them everywhere. Welcome to the deep dive. You know, if you're tired of just being able to say, "It is cold outside," then this deep dive is definitely for you.
Yeah, this is for anyone who wants to go a bit deeper.
We're taking your stack of sources and giving you the linguistic keys to handle basically any weather situation, from, suggesting a picnic to issuing a professional hurricane warning.
That's right. We're moving beyond just vocabulary review and into what I'd call structural fluency. The core mission today is a shortcut.
A shortcut, I like that.
We're extracting the grammar and the key phrases that instantly let you discuss complex, hypothetical, or, urgent weather scenarios in English.
And our sources for this are fantastic. They don't just give us definitions, they give us these really functional examples. We have detailed frameworks covering the grammar, common predictive phrases that native speakers actually use, and direct comparisons of language in professional contexts.
Right, like the difference between a calm TV broadcast and a really, panic-inducing radio alert.
Exactly. So ultimately, we want you to be able to talk naturally, to plan your day, and to understand safety instructions, all based on the weather.
And to do that, you really have to master one thing above all else: conditional sentences.
Okay, let's unpack this. Why are conditionals the absolute foundation here? I mean, for mastering weather conversations specifically.
Because the weather, just by its very nature, is uncertain. It's all about possibilities.
Right.
So when you talk about the weather, you're almost always talking about hypotheticals. And what's fascinating is that the grammatical structure you choose, the conditional, it actually signals the level of reality you're attaching to the situation.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
So you're managing your listeners' expectations immediately.
You've got it. You're not just saying what might happen, you're signaling how seriously they should take the threat or the opportunity.
That's a great way to put it. Okay, so where do we start?
We start with the highest level of probability, the first conditional.
This is our practical planner, right? If I'm looking at the forecast and it shows, say, 70% chance of rain.
Yeah. This is my go-to structure for what I will do.
Exactly. The structure is simple, and it focuses on probable future events. It's if plus you use the present simple, you use will plus the base verb for the result.
So it's immediate action tied to a likely condition. Low stakes, everyday decision-making.
That's it.
Can you give us some examples from the sources, something that highlights that immediate utility?
Sure. The classics are always the most practical. If it rains tomorrow, we will stow indoors. Or, for something more logistical, if the wind is strong, the ferry will be canceled.
So you use the present tense for the condition, if the wind is strong, and then the future tense for what you know is the consequence, the ferry will be canceled.
You're creating a direct cause and effect based on a real possibility.
I find this one the easiest to get the hang of. If the temperature drops, we will need warm jackets. It's an instruction you can follow. And that structure is so crucial because it's the linguistic bridge between getting information and actually taking action. You need to internalize that connection. Condition in the present leads to an action with will in the future.
Okay, so that covers what's likely. But what happens when we shift from, likely afternoon showers to something highly unlikely? Let's say I live in the tropics and I want to talk about snow.
Right.
How do I signal that this is purely hypothetical without having to say, I don't think this will happen?
That's the perfect question, because that is the exact job of the second conditional. We shift from the high probability of will to the hypothetical distance of would.
Okay, so this is for unreal or contrary to fact scenarios, the what if section of our weather talk.
Exactly. The structure itself changes. It becomes if plus past simple. You use would plus the base verb.
So you use the past tense in the if clause, even though you're talking about the present or the future.
Yes, and that's what creates the distance. It signals unlikelihood.
So going back to my tropical example, I'd say, if it snowed in July, we would be very surprised.
That's it. By saying snowed past tense, you're signaling you don't expect it to happen.
Right.
It also applies when you're discussing unlikely but, possible emergencies, where you're preparing mentally, but it's not right around the corner. For instance, if there were a catastrophic hurricane, people would evacuate the area.
And using were there, that subjunctive form, that really emphasizes how hypothetical it is.
It does.
That's such a critical distinction for a listener. The difference between if the wind is strong, the ferry will be canceled. That's a first conditional. Get ready to change your plans.
Right. An active warning.
Versus if the sky were clear, we would see the stars tonight. That's the second conditional. It's cloudy, but we're just imagining it wasn't.
It's the linguistic cue for speculation versus action. That's the...
Okay, so we've covered the future, the probable, and the purely hypothetical. But what about analyzing the past? That's where we get into, regret and looking back.
Yeah. Yes, and for that we use the third conditional. It's vital for any kind of post-event discussion or analysis.
So you're talking about what might have been if the past weather had been different. A past you can't change.
A fixed past, exactly.
This one is structurally the most complex, but it's so powerful for fluency. It's if plus past perfect, then would have plus the past participle.
Let's look at the sources examples here. It often involves analyzing a planning failure, or maybe a success. If we had checked the weather forecast, we would have avoided the storm.
The storm already happened. We didn't check. So now we're analyzing that missed opportunity.
Precisely.
But it's not just about regret, is it? It's also about a detailed analysis of consequences.
Good point.
Like the source gives us a really clear example about damage. If the hailstorm had been stronger, our car would have been damaged. The speaker is analyzing the threshold of what could have happened.
The key takeaway from all three conditionals is that you are using grammar as a precise tool. A tool to convey probability and time.
First conditional, high chance, future action.
Second conditional, low chance hypothetical action.
Third conditional. Zero chance. Past analysis.
You've got it.
Perfect. Okay, we've established the foundation, the structure, but nobody speaks purely imperfect conditional clauses.
Not at all.
So now we need to transition. How do we weave these into natural conversation and professional reporting?
We have to introduce the surrounding conversational language, the prediction phrases that lead right into those conditionals. We have to move beyond simple verbs and start using the language of, meteorology.
Right. So we need to internalize phrases like, it looks like it will rain later, or the forecast predicts sunny skies tomorrow.
Exactly. Those statements set the stage before you jump into the if X then Y part.
And we also need to weave in specific metrics and warning language. The sources highlight this combination so well.
They do. A prediction phrase leads directly into an advisory conditional. So temperatures are expected to drop tonight, followed by.
If the temperature drops below freezing, we will need to cover the plants. That seamless transition, that's the hallmark of real fluency.
Let's put it into practice. Our first scenario, daily life planning. Imagine we're planning a weekend hike based on a kind of tricky forecast.
Okay.
In these daily conversations, you see this constant back and forth. The source material details a forecast. Saturday starts sunny, but clouds build by noon, chance of light showers in the evening. Sunday is cooler, cloudy, and breezy.
So the conversation starts with a prediction. It might rain on Saturday afternoon.
Which naturally triggers the first conditional action plan.
If it rains, we will pack our lightweight ponchos, but if it gets heavy, we will postpone the hike until Sunday.
Perfect. And because the forecast mentioned Sunday would be breezy, the conversation also have to include that derived practical advice. We don't just say it's breezy.
Right, you talk about the consequences. If the wind chill is too high, we need to dress warmly in layers. That shows you understand the conditions beyond just the number on the thermometer.
That attention to detail, the wind chill, the clouds building, that's what makes the planning realistic and the language so precise.
Okay, now let's shift gears completely. Scenario 2, professional reporting style.
The conditions change, and so the language has to change with it.
In TV reporting, the tone is much calmer. It's advisory, it focuses on the flow of events, it manages expectations without causing alarm.
Exactly. The language is focused on certainty and sequence. They'll often use phrases like, we expect, or followed by.
We expect light rain throughout the morning, followed by clear skies this afternoon. They're guiding you through a timeline.
And they soften their advice while still sounding authoritative. Temperatures will drop slightly in the evening, so remember to wear a light jacket.
The action wearing a jacket is gently advised, not commanded.
But if that calm broadcast suddenly switches to an emergency radio alert, the language has to become urgent, direct, commanding.
Yes.
This is where mastering the structure and tone literally becomes life-saving.
This is a crucial section for you to internalize. When the forecast is severe, there is no room for ambiguity or softening phrases.
The language shifts to immediate strong warnings. Attention, listeners. Severe thunderstorms are expected in the next hour. You're told exactly what will happen and when.
And the instructions are unequivocal. They use direct commands related to that first conditional consequence. Flood warnings have been issued for low-lying areas. Move to higher ground immediately if needed.
Or lightning, strong winds, and heavy rain are predicted. Secure outdoor objects and keep emergency supplies ready. This urgent vocabulary, secure, move, keep ready, is all tied to the understanding that if these things happen, these actions must follow.
And finally, we saw this professional language in an airport context. Here, it's all about managing delays and contingencies.
Yeah, in that context, the focus is on visibility and wind thresholds. You'll hear phrases like, flight departures may be delayed due to heavy rainfall and low visibility.
So that low visibility is the conditional trigger for the delay.
It is. And crucially, they rely on that first conditional to manage the worst-case scenario. If strong crosswinds occur, some flights may be canceled.
That structure lets them tell passengers exactly what the trigger for a cancellation is. It manages expectations based on a realistic, measurable event.
And by understanding these three contexts, the casual chat, the calm advisory, and the urgent command, you now have the full spectrum of English you need to communicate about weather at any level.
This has been a true deep dive into fluency. We've covered everything from, if the sun shines, we will go to the park, all the way to, if the hailstorm had been stronger, our car would have been damaged.
It's a huge range.
And the core takeaway really is that these structures and professional phrases allow your English to become instantly fluent and natural, even in these high-stakes, unpredictable situations.
And if you can internalize the three conditionals, you're not just learning grammar rules, you're learning how to instantly signal probability to your listener, which is just fundamental to communication and making decisions.
And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you. Reflect on the true power of the conditional. By mastering the difference between will in the first conditional and would in the second, you're signaling the difference between a realistic threat and a purely imaginary one. That subtle linguistic choice is crucial for planning. Are you grabbing your umbrella, or are you just daydreaming about a vacation? The conditional structure tells the whole story.
So we encourage you to try it. Try to give a forecast for the next 24 hours to someone you know using all three conditionals. Describe what will happen.
What would happen if the jet stream suddenly shifted?
And what would have happened last night if the temperature dropped 10 degrees lower?
Practice that precision and you master the weather conversation. Until next time. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into your sources to tackle, well, one of the most common topics in English conversation.
The weather.
The weather. But it's surprisingly complex, isn't it? We're not just here to talk about sunny or cloudy.
No, not at all.
We're here to get fluent. And that means weaving together vocabulary, those conversational idioms, and some pretty complex grammar, specifically conditionals.
That's right. The materials we looked at are all about how fluency is really a form of storytelling. It's about moving from a simple observation, it's raining, to a full safety plan or a story about your weekend.
So our mission for this deep dive is to synthesize that essential toolkit. By the end, you, the listener, will have a clear framework for turning a simple weather report into a full story.
And to get that natural sound, we have to start with movement. Simple words don't show change, but phrasal verbs, they really do. Let's jump into that action vocabulary.
Okay, so if you want to sound fluent, you have to describe the weather as something that's happening. It's dynamic. We noticed in the examples that phrasal verbs are used to create a kind of weather story arc.
Yeah, a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Exactly.
And starting with the end, or the resolution, the most important one is probably clear up.
Okay.
This is your signal for relief. It's used when the sky improves after bad weather. It implies that transition. So you might say, the morning fog was really thick, but it started to clear up around noon.
And on the flip side, to set the scene, the examples often use something like drizzle began. It's subtle.
Right, it introduces light rain. But for a quick resolution, the phrase that really stood out was blew over quickly.
That one is so useful.
It's indispensable. It describes a whole event, an interruption that didn't cause any real problems. Whether it's a shower or even a bigger storm, saying it blew over quickly just means it was brief.
So the afternoon storm blew over quickly and we got back to our picnic?
Exactly. It's a complete story in 3 words.
And what about the buildup, when things are getting more intense?
That's where pickup comes in. It's all about increasing intensity. We often see it used in warnings or predictions like, if the winds pick up later, we need to secure the patio furniture.
So those 4 drizzle began, clear up, blew over, and pickup, they basically give you the tools to narrate an entire weather event.
They do?
So phrasal verbs handle the action, but talking to people is about more than just action. You need connection. And that's where the idioms come in, right? They provide that social layer.
Yeah, and that social layer is critical for fluency. Weather talk is often, a social lubricant. It's safe territory.
Yeah.
And using an idiom, it just instantly signals that you're part of the shared culture. It breaks the ice. Take a phrase like, every cloud has a silver lining.
I love how the examples use this. They turned a negative, the rain, into a positive. It wasn't just, it stopped raining. It was, the morning drizzle made the street smell fresh and clean.
Yes.
Yes.
It illustrates the silver lining. It turns reporting into something more reflective.
Yeah, almost philosophical. Absolutely. And then you have the idiom of determination, come rain or shine. This one basically cancels the idea of cancellation.
It does. It reinforces a commitment. Come rain or shine, the market opens at 9 a.m. There's no ambiguity there.
And finally, the classic, under the weather. What's interesting is how it's used here to show empathy. You can use the weather to talk about how you're feeling.
Right. I was feeling a bit under the weather, but getting outside, even in the cool air, really helped. It connects the external world to your internal state.
So these idioms, they turn simple facts into a human connection.
And that's the key to natural conversation.
Okay, so idioms for the social side. But when the talk moves from, pleasantries to serious planning, we need more structure.
Exactly. When we're talking about travel or safety, the grammar has to be precise. And that's where conditional sentences, the if-then structures, become the absolute core.
So let's break that down. What's the real functional difference between the two main types of conditionals we need here?
Well, we start with the first conditional. This one deals with real possible planning.
Oh.
It's the grammar of likely cause and effect. The structure is always, if present tense, we will future action. This is your day-to-day decision-making tool.
So if I'm planning a hike for tomorrow, I'd use this for my immediate plans.
Precisely. If it rains tomorrow, we will take the bus. Or for safety, if the gales come, I will bring the chairs inside. It's a direct action plan, a real possibility.
Now let's get to the trickier one, the second conditional. This is where learners can get tripped up because you're using a past tense verb to talk about the future.
Right.
Like if the storm were stronger, we would postpone. Why that shift to were and would? What does that signal?
That shift in tense is crucial. It signals distance, either emotional distance or probabilistic distance. You're using the language of hypothetical discussion.
So you're talking about unlikely or more extreme scenarios.
Exactly. It means this is probably not going to happen, but if it did, here's our contingency plan.
So it's the difference between planning for a bit of rain versus planning for, say, a major flood. Yes, think about a safety briefing. If floods occurred, residents would evacuate to higher ground. You're not telling them to evacuate now, right? You're not trying to cause a panic.
No, you're discussing a preparedness plan for an extreme, less likely event. That distance is essential for clear communication.
Which brings up a really important point. When you're leading a group or giving instructions, why are these structures so non-negotiable?
Because in an emergency, you have to remove all ambiguity. Safety instructions are all about cause and effect, a trigger event, and a required response.
So just saying there is lightning isn't enough. No, because the person might think, okay, so what? But if you use the conditional, if lightning occurs, we will head inside immediately, you've given them a complete non-negotiable action plan. That's it, really. You're not just speaking English at that point. You're communicating pure logic.
Right. And that moves us from the grammar structure to the specific words we need. For travel or outdoor activities, casual language just won't cut it. You need technical terms for accurate planning. Okay, let's highlight the key terms that make a conversation sound more official. First up, wind chill. Why is that so much more useful than just saying the temperature? Because wind chill is about how the air actually feels on your skin. It's a safety indicator. If you know the wind chill is low, you automatically know you need to pack jackets, gloves, even if the thermostat reading looks okay.
It triggers a specific action. It triggers preparedness. And the same is true for its opposite, the heat index, which is about humidity.
Right. It measures how hot it feels when you factor in the humidity. In warm climates, this is critical. A high heat index stresses your body, so your action plan changes.
So it plugs right into that conditional structure. If the heat index rises above 35, we will drink water every 15 minutes.
Exactly. The technical term dictates the safety rule.
And then we have the really high-stakes dangers, things like gales, which are severe winds, and lightning. These are the ones that need those immediate must-do actions.
For sure. For a severe event, the language has to shift instantly from discussion to command. The role plays we looked at show this perfectly. You move from descriptive language,
Like cloudy skies, light showers expected around noon.
to a clear, safety-first conditional update. The priority has to be preparedness.
So the key takeaway is you use the phrasal verbs to predict the change, the technical terms to name the risk, and the conditionals to explain the response.
Perfectly put. The temperature will rise, so if the heat index increases, we will ensure everyone has water. You're not just reporting anymore. You're using language to manage risk.
So bringing this all together, idioms, phrasal verbs, conditionals, what does this all mean for someone who really wants to achieve fluency?
It means you've mastered a really powerful blend. You're using idioms for personality, for that social connection. You're using phrasal verbs to describe action and change. And you're using conditionals to apply logic and planning.
It's the difference between saying, the storm ended, so we started our walk, and saying something much more fluid.
Right. Something like,
The morning drizzle blew over quickly, and since every cloud has a silver lining, we decided to go for our walk, but we knew that if the strong winds picked up later, we would head home immediately.
yes. That second sentence shows total command of the entire toolkit. You've got it all in there.
And that piece about connection, it's why talking about the weather is so often called a great way to break the ice.
It is. The whole conversation revolves around shared experience and, future risk. We're all in it together.
And if you think about that, it's fascinating. Why is this topic, which is really about planning, shared vulnerability, and mutual risk, why is it such a universal social tool for connecting with people?
That is a great question.
It seems to go so much deeper than just small talk. It's a conversation about survival, about our shared reality.
A shared act of planning. It's a good thing to reflect on as you start using these tools yourself.
Well, we hope you now feel fully equipped to face the elements. Linguistically, anyway. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Welcome back to the deep dive. Talking about the weather, it's often seen as, well, maybe the most mundane conversation starter on the planet.
It really is.
But if you want to achieve true fluency in English, that small talk topic becomes a critical gateway. You have to move way beyond just describing the temperature.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, to sound natural, fluent, and confident, you need this sort of integrated linguistic toolkit. And for weather, that means mastering not just a list of words.
No.
It means knowing how to weave in specific idioms, dynamic phrasal verbs, and this is the critical part, the grammatical structures for possibility and prediction.
Our source material today is just fantastic for this. It's a consolidation session from an advanced language program, and it's designed specifically to take intermediate speakers to a place of, mastery on this topic. So our mission is pretty simple. We are unpacking their entire advanced toolkit. We want to give you a shortcut to discussing the weather in English with both clarity and, that native flair.
And what's so fascinating here is the blueprint itself. It treats fluency like architecture. You need a foundation, that's your vocabulary.
Right.
Then the decoration, which are the idioms, and the framing, the conditionals, to really build a compelling story. It's that combination that unlocks continuous natural dialogue.
And that's the goal, right? That's advanced fluency.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack this toolkit, starting with part 1, the essential vocabulary and phrasing.
So we can look at this in 3 escalating layers. The first layer is the core vocabulary. This is where you have to distinguish clearly between different types of precipitation and, meteorological phenomena.
Yeah. Everyone knows sunny and cloudy, but for fluency, you need the nuance. Our sources really emphasize moving into precise terms like drizzle, which is light.
Versus hail, which is ice.
Exactly. Or differentiating between thunder and lightning. They're not the same thing.
And we also need the scale. So terms for large-scale phenomena like a heat wave or a cold front or a big event like a snowstorm, using these specific terms signals a much higher precision in your English.
That clarity is the foundation. But, okay, the second layer is where we start to sound truly authentic. Idiomatic expressions. Why is weather such a universal, source for these?
That's a great question. I mean, weather affects everyone. Regardless of culture or where you are. So it's naturally embedded in our shared experience.
It's a shortcut.
It is. Idioms based on weather act as cultural shorthand. They instantly add color and context that a literal translation just can't touch.
I find they give you an immediate boost in conversational authenticity. The sources gave us some classic examples, like if it's absolutely pouring outside, you'd say it's raining cats and dogs.
And we do this all the time.
Yeah.
Use weather to describe our physical state. If you're feeling unwell, you're under the weather. It also captures emotion beautifully. When you're encouraging someone to find the positive side of a bad situation, you tell them that every cloud has a silver lining.
Yeah, and that shifts the whole conversation from just description to, philosophy.
It does.
It also governs how we interact. We use weather talk to break the ice when we meet new people. And if you're absolutely committed to doing something, you say you'll do it, come rain or shine.
That combination moves us way past just vocabulary and into a kind of cultural understanding. So that brings us to the third layer in this toolkit. Phrasal verbs.
These are so important.
They're crucial because they show change and action. They describe how the weather is actively evolving, which is key for any dynamic storytelling.
That makes so much sense. Phrasal verbs show the progression, so when the clouds disperse, the weather starts to clear up.
Exactly.
Or when a nice day takes a turn, the sky can cloud over.
Precisely. And while cool down and warm up are pretty standard for temperature, the most dynamic one for a changing forecast is blowover.
Ooh, I like that one.
It means the storm or the difficulty was rapid and temporary. If you just say the storm passed, it's a bit passive.
Right.
But if you say the storm blew over, it implies immediate action and relief. It just tells a much better story.
Okay, that sets us up perfectly for part 2, because real fluency isn't just about the present, it's about managing possibilities and predictions. And that requires mastering conditional sentences. This is sort of the grammatical architecture of uncertainty.
This is the crucial shift. Conditionals are the framework that lets us discuss hypotheses, plans, hypothetical history. The sources specifically reviewed the three main types, but really focused on the difference between the first and second.
Okay, let's start with the one we use most often for making plans. The first conditional.
Right. The first conditional is for realistic future possibilities, scenarios we actually expect could happen. The structure is direct. If it rains tomorrow, I will stay indoors.
So it links a likely event to a concrete plan.
Exactly. The likelihood is high. It's all about realistic preparation.
But the second conditional, that one jumps fully into the hypothetical. This is for unlikely stuff. Imagine scenarios, things that are contrary to fact right now. When we're talking about weather, how does that grammatical shift change how we perceive the risk?
That's where the power is. The second conditional creates this mental distance from reality. You're practicing immediate imaginary reactions. So if a speaker uses this structure, they are signaling that the event is low probability or even pure fantasy.
So it's like a mental simulation.
A perfect way to put it. The source had a great drill. If it snowed suddenly in July, I would take pictures immediately. Or, for risk, if strong gales continued, I would avoid outdoor activities. It lets you express a possibility without committing to a realistic plan.
And then, of course, we have the third conditional. Now, the sources used fewer explicit weather examples here, but it's so essential for advanced fluency because it lets you reflect on past events that didn't happen.
It lets you do that retrospective analysis, the what-ifs of history. And this is key because native speakers reflect on the past constantly. The structure is all about the past, hypothetical. If it had snowed yesterday, I would have worn my warmest coat.
Right, an evaluation of past choices. You know, the genius of this learning session wasn't just listing the parts, it was showing the finished product. There was that powerful consolidation paragraph that just blends all these tools together.
Yeah, if you listen closely to this, you can hear all the different components working together. If it rains tomorrow, that's our first conditional, I will stay indoors. Come rain or shine. There's the idiom of commitment. I try to walk every morning. Every cloud has a silver lining. The idiom of optimism, because the drizzle makes the city smell fresh. You hear the prediction, the commitment, and the interpretation all in one fluent sequence.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving into part 3, let's focus on application. How is this combined toolkit actually used when the stakes are high, or even just in daily life? This is where it all becomes practical.
The sources gave us a really comprehensive storytelling exercise, showing how to move a narrative forward using these tools. The flow itself is the lesson. It moves you through different tenses, likelihoods, and emotional states.
Okay, walk us through that narrative flow. Highlight how the toolkit plays a role at each stage.
Sure. So the story starts descriptively, basic vocabulary. It was a chilly Saturday morning with a light drizzle. Then the narrator introduces a conditional decision. If it rains all morning, I will stay home. That sets the plan.
But then the weather changes, right? And that's where the action verbs come in.
Exactly. The sky starts to clear up, which immediately triggers that emotional idiom, every cloud has a silver lining.
Ah, I see.
The story then introduces a prediction. Forecasts predicted strong gales, and it ends with dynamic action. A brief thunderstorm that thankfully blew over quickly, allowing the sun to warm up the streets. See, it's not just reporting, it's a dramatic account.
That storytelling ability is so essential. Let's shift to critical communication, emergency role play. Here, clarity and speed matter, and the conditionals become warnings.
Yeah, in emergency scenarios, the language has to be direct and urgent. In a weather broadcast, you hear key phrases signaling severity. Severe thunderstorms are expected, and lightning, strong winds, and heavy rain are predicted. Notice the strong, active verbs.
And the instruction itself has to be crystal clear.
And that instruction is often conditional and immediate. Move to higher ground immediately if necessary. The conditional frame makes the instruction specific to a developing situation.
We also saw the language of delay and cancellation, which is crucial for places like airports where communication has to be calm and precise.
Right. The key phrases there focus on the cause and the action, all while managing expectations. So you hear, flight departures may be delayed due to heavy rainfall and low visibility.
And then the conditional for the worst case scenario.
If strong winds occur, some flights may be canceled. It prepares people for that possibility without causing panic.
Okay, so finally, let's bring it back to daily life fluency. The drills in the source focused on these natural question and answer exchanges using the tools instantly.
Yes. It's the difference between answering, "It's sunny," and answering, "It's sunny, but the sky may cloud over later, so bring an umbrella." The phrasal verb just adds that sophistication.
Or using the idiom.
Right. Instead of using plain medical language, you say, "I feel a little under the weather, so I'll stay inside." Integrating those elements just makes the response so much more fluent and conversational.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner, in consolidated terms?
The core lesson here is that fluency is an act of simultaneous integration. It's not about checking off a vocabulary list. It's about combining specific vocabulary, the idioms for context, the phrasal verbs for action, and the conditionals for possibility, all into one coherent language system. That combination, practice daily, is the key.
And mastering that integration, those long combined sentences that sound so fluent and natural, that is the immediate goal for anyone looking to level up their English.
The goal is moving past merely listing the elements to using them as a coherent whole.
Before we wrap up, here's a final provocative thought for you to chew on, based on what we've discussed about conditionals and risk. We spend a lot of time drilling second conditional sentences, like, if there were a major hurricane tomorrow, we would evacuate immediately.
Right, our hypothetical planning for low probability events.
But consider this. These grammatical drills are not just about syntax. They're reflections of how we mentally prepare for and manage uncertainty and risk in our lives. What does the type of conditional we instinctively reach for, the realistic first or the imaginary second, say about our actual, deeply held perception of a threat or an opportunity? The structure of our sentences really reveals how we process risk. Think about that as you practice combining your advanced weather toolkit today.
If you enjoyed today's full weather lesson and want to practice more, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps us create more episodes for you.
Subscribe to English Speak Pulse and turn on notifications so you never miss a lesson. We have more topics, conversations, and interactive storytelling coming your way.
Tell us in the comments which weather topic or real-life scenario you want us to cover next: beginner, intermediate, or advanced.
And don't forget to download the transcript and practice exercises from the link in the description. Practicing out loud is the fastest way to improve your fluency.
Thanks for learning with us today. See you in the next lesson.